I sat alone in a corner booth at Antonio's restaurant on Mother's Day, finishing my tiramisu when I made the mistake of checking my phone. There on the screen was my son Tyler's Instagram post. Him and his stepmother Linda at Marcel's, the upscale steakhouse across town, both smiling like magazine models. The caption stabbed through me like a knife. My real mother with 3 red heart emojis. My phone trembled in my hand. The waiter approached to refill my coffee, but I couldn't hear him over the sound of my heart shattering into 1,000 pieces. 27 years of motherhood erased in a single social media post. My name is Karen, and I need to tell you how I got to that moment. Sitting alone in a restaurant while my only child celebrated the woman who replaced me. Tyler's father Gerald and I divorced when our son was 7 years old. It wasn't a bitter divorce, just a sad one. Wed married too young, grown into different people, wanted different lives. Gerald got his corporate career and country club membership. I got Tyler and a 2-bedroom apartment in a neighborhood where the rent wouldn't completely destroy me. I worked 2 jobs to keep Tyler in the private school Gerald and I had agreed on before the divorce. My morning shift was at a medical billing office downtown, sorting insurance claims and entering codes into a computer system that crashed twice a week. My evening shift was waitressing at a diner called Rosie's, serving meatloaf and apple pie to truckers and late-night customers until my feet screamed for mercy. I'd get home around 11 at night, help Tyler with whatever homework he hadn't finished, pack his lunch for the next day, then collapse into bed for 5 hours before starting all over again. Gerald remarried within a year. Linda was a real estate developer, 10 years younger than him, with perfectly highlighted hair and a wardrobe that cost more than my annual salary. She'd never had children, never wanted them, or so I'd heard through mutual friends. But when she married Gerald, she inherited Tyler on the weekends. At first, Tyler would come home from his father's house with stories about Linda's kindness. She took him shopping for designer sneakers I could never afford. She had a game room in their mansion with every console imaginable. She didn't make him do chores or eat vegetables if he didn't want to. She was fun, he'd say. Easy. I was the one who made him finish his broccoli. I was the one who said no to the $100 video game when I was already working 60-hour weeks. I was the one with the 12-year-old sedan that embarrassed him when I picked him up from school while other parents arrived in luxury SUVs. But I was also the one at every soccer game. Even when I had to leave my waitressing shift early and lose the tips, I was the one at every parent-teacher conference, taking notes about his progress in math and encouraging his English teacher's suggestion that he join the creative writing club. I was the one who sat with him through stomach flus and broken hearts, through failed tests and friendship drama. Linda gave him an ATV for his 16th birthday, delivered with a red bow in their circular driveway. I gave him a handmade photo album filled with pictures of us from the time he was born, each page decorated with ticket stubs from movies we'd seen together and programs from his school plays. He thanked me politely, then went to ride his new ATV. The years continued like that. Tyler spending more weekends at the mansion, fewer evenings at my apartment. Him canceling our Tuesday night dinners because Linda had gotten tickets to a concert or a basketball game. Him forgetting my birthday last year because he was on a ski trip to Colorado that Linda had planned. I told myself it was normal. Teenagers pulled away from their parents. He'd come back around when he got older, more mature. I just had to be patient. 3 days before Mother's Day, I received a text from Tyler. "Mom, let's do lunch Sunday. Antonio's at noon." My treat. My heart soared. He'd remembered. He wanted to spend the day with me. I went to the salon that Saturday and got my hair done for the first time in 2 years. I bought a new blouse from the clearance rack at Macy's, pale blue with pearl buttons. I felt hopeful. Sunday morning, I arrived at Antonio's at 11:45. I wanted to be early, to get a good table, to make sure everything was perfect. The hostess seated me by the window, where sunlight streamed through lace curtains. I ordered water with lemon and waited. Noon came and went. I texted Tyler. "I'm here. Got us a nice table." No response. 12:15. I called him. It went to voicemail. 12:30. The waiter approached, sympathetic and professional. "Would you like to order, ma'am?" I looked around at the family celebrating together. Mothers with daughters, mothers with sons, mothers with grandchildren, everyone together except me. "Yes," I said quietly. "I'll have the chicken parmesan." I ate alone, cutting my chicken into small bites, chewing mechanically. Around me, Laughter and conversation flowed. A woman at the next table opened a card from her adult son. Tears of joy streaming down her face. I looked away. The waiter brought dessert, tiramisu, Tyler's childhood favorite. I used to make it from scratch for his birthday every year, staying up late to layer the espresso-soaked ladyfingers and mascarpone cream just right. That's when I pulled out my phone and saw the post. Tyler and Linda at Marcel's, the restaurant where reservations required a 3-week wait and entrees cost $60. Linda wore a cream-colored dress and pearls. Tyler wore a suit jacket I'd never seen before. They were toasting with champagne glasses, both looking directly at the camera with brilliant smiles. "My real mother," the caption said. The comments below made it worse. "She raised you right. Beautiful photo. You two look so alike. Best mom ever." I scrolled up through Tyler's Instagram feed with shaking hands. How had I missed this? For the past 2 years, his posts told a story I hadn't been watching. Photos of Linda at his college graduation, Linda at his new apartment helping him decorate, Linda at a company holiday party for Gerald's business where Tyler now worked. Every caption, some variation of my mom or best advice from mom or Sunday brunch with mom. I searched for my own face in his feed. I scrolled back months, then a year, then 2 years. Nothing. It'd been erased. The waiter refilled my coffee. I sat there until the tiramisu turned soggy, until the restaurant started filling with the dinner crowd, until the sky outside began to dim. Then I paid my bill, left a generous tip because I knew what it was like to depend on tips, and walked to my car. I sat in the parking lot and did something I should have done years ago. I looked at the truth. I drove home in a fog, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles turned white. My apartment complex looked shabbier than usual when I pulled in. The paint peeling on the stairwell railings, the landscaping overgrown. I'd lived here for 20 years and never really seen it. I parked in my assigned spot and couldn't make myself get out of the car. So I sat there, phone in hand, and I started digging. Tyler's Facebook account was semi-private, but I was still listed as his mother, still had access. I found photos going back 3 years. Linda at his 21st birthday party, cutting the cake while Tyler hugged her. Linda moving him into his college dorm. Both of them laughing as they carried boxes. Linda at his high school graduation, standing between Tyler and Gerald in the family photo section. Wait, his high school graduation. I pulled up my email and searched for messages from that time. There, buried in my spam folder, was an email from Tyler I'd never seen. The subject line read, "About graduation seating." I opened it with trembling fingers. "Mom, the seating for graduation is really complicated this year. The school is doing assigned family sections and there's limited space. Dad and Linda have the family seats. You should probably just sit in the general admissions section so it's not weird. Hope you understand." I remembered that day. It arrived early. Tried to find Tyler to take pictures. Couldn't locate him in the crowd of students. An administrator told me family seating was full and directed me to the general section in the back. Id sat alone, squinting to see Tyler walk across the stage, unable to hear his name called over the scratchy sound system. Id believed it was a school policy. A space limitation. Bad luck. It had been a lie. Tyler had deliberately excluded me so Linda could sit in the family section. My hands shook so hard I almost dropped the phone. I kept searching. I found a Facebook group called Second Wives Club. Linda was a member. I clicked through and found a post from a year ago. "Update on my journey with my stepson." Linda had written. "It's taken patience and consistency, but he's finally starting to see me as his real mother. Today he called me mom in front of his friends without any prompting. To all the stepmoms out there struggling, don't give up. Love wins. These kids need stability and someone who can actually provide for them, not just emotional guilt trips." The comments were congratulatory. "You deserve this. You put in the work." His bio mom must not have been very involved. Sometimes kids need to be freed from toxic biological parents. I read the words again and again. Toxic biological parents. Me. The woman who'd worked 2 jobs so Tyler could stay in private school. The woman who'd given up her own college fund to pay for his braces. The woman who'd spent 20 years putting him first. I called the hospital where I'd listed Tyler as my emergency contact years ago, pretending I needed to update my records. The nurse on the phone checked and said my emergency contact was listed as Linda Ferguson with a phone number I didn't recognize. "When was that changed?" I asked. "Let me see. Looks like about 6 months ago." Your son called and updated it himself. I thanked her and hung up. 6 months ago, Tyler had erased me as his emergency contact and replaced me with Linda. I thought about the times I'd called Tyler in recent months. The way the phone would ring once, then go to voicemail. The texts that went unanswered for days. The Tuesday dinners we used to have every week that had dwindled to once a month, then once every few months, then nothing. I'd told myself he was busy, building his career, dating, living his life, but the truth was simpler and crueler. Had replaced me. I scrolled further back in Linda's Facebook history and found something that made my blood run cold. A screenshot Tyler had accidentally included in a post about his new car, a silver Audi that Linda and Gerald had given him for his 25th birthday. In the corner of the screenshot, you could see a text conversation. Linda's message: "Remember what we discussed. If you want the promotion to assistant manager, your mother can't be at company events. It confuses people and makes your father uncomfortable. It's me or her at the Christmas party. Choose wisely." Tyler's response: "I understand. She won't be there." I remembered that Christmas party. Tyler had told me it was employees only, no family allowed. I'd believed him, sent him off with a plate of homemade cookies for his coworkers. Linda had been there. I'd seen the photos later on the company website. Linda, in a red dress, standing next to Gerald and Tyler, all three of them smiling for the camera under the headline, "Family Business Success." I sat in my car as the sun set completely, as the parking lot lights flickered on, as my neighbors came home from their own Mother's Day celebrations. I watched a woman across the lot being greeted by her adult daughter, both of them hugging, carrying flowers and gift bags into their apartment. I thought about the sacrifices I'd made, not the big ones, though those were real enough. The small ones that added up over 27 years. The concert I didn't attend because Tyler had a soccer game. The promotion I didn't take because it would have meant relocating and sharing custody was easier if I stayed local. The dates I didn't go on because Tyler said it was weird that I was seeing someone. The clothes I didn't buy, the vacations I didn't take, the dreams I didn't chase. It built my entire life around being Tyler's mother. It shaped every decision around what was best for him, what would make him happy, what would give him opportunities I never had. And had traded me in for a woman with a bigger house and a fatter wallet. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, listening to the couple upstairs arguing about whose turn it was to take out the trash. Normal problems. Small problems. Problems that didn't shatter your entire sense of who you were. At 3 a.m, I got up and pulled the photo albums from my closet. Baby Tyler, in his first Halloween costume, dressed as a pumpkin, because I'd sewn the outfit myself. Toddler Tyler on his first day of preschool, gripping my hand and looking uncertain. 10-year-old Tyler at his first soccer trophy ceremony, holding up his medal while I knelt beside him, both of us grinning. Every photo was a memory of love. Every page was evidence of a relationship I'd thought was unbreakable. I found the receipts I'd saved over the years in a shoebox. Sentimental, probably stupid, but I'd kept them. The receipt from the private school showing I'd emptied my own college fund to pay his tuition when Gerald's child support wasn't enough. The hospital bill from when Tyler broke his leg in 8th grade, $23,000 after insurance, paid off over 3 years with my waitressing tips. The receipt from his senior class trip to Washington, D.C., that I'd funded by working double shifts for 2 months straight. As dawn broke, I made my decision. I showered, dressed in jeans and a sweater, and drove to Tyler's apartment. He lived in a modern complex on the north side, floor-to-ceiling windows and a rooftop pool. Linda and Gerald had paid his deposit and co-signed the lease. I knew this because Tyler had mentioned it casually once, like it was no big deal, like everyone's stepmother bought them luxury apartments. I knocked on his door at 7:30 in the morning. I heard shuffling inside, a groan, then footsteps. Tyler opened the door in expensive loungewear, the kind sold at boutique athletic stores for $100 per piece. His hair was messy, eyes bloodshot. Had clearly been out late celebrating. "Mom." He looked confused, then annoyed. "What are you doing here? We need to talk." He glanced back into the apartment, like he was checking if someone else was there. "This isn't really a good time. Make time." My voice came out harder than it intended. He sighed and stepped aside. I walked into his apartment for the first time. It was beautiful, decorated with furniture that matched, artwork on the walls, a kitchen with granite countertops and stainless steel appliances. Nothing like the mismatched thrift store furniture in my apartment. Tyler didn't offer me coffee or a seat. He crossed his arms and leaned against the kitchen counter. What's this about? I pulled out my phone and showed him the Instagram post. This. And the fact that you invited me to lunch yesterday then never showed up. His face flushed slightly. Oh. Yeah. Something came up. Something came up, I repeated. You mean Linda? She wanted to do Mother's Day brunch and I couldn't say no. She's been really good to me, Mom. You know that. So you sent me to a different restaurant and let me sit there alone while you had champagne with her. Tyler's jaw tightened. You're making this dramatic. I forgot to cancel with you. I'm sorry. You forgot. I laughed, but it came out bitter. Tyler, you called her your real mother. On social media, for everyone to see. She is like a mother to me. He wouldn't meet my eyes. She's been there for me in ways you couldn't be. The words hit like a physical blow. What does that mean? It means she has time for me. It means she doesn't show up to my school events in uniforms that smell like fryer grease. It means she can afford to give me the things I need. Things you need. My voice rose. I gave you everything I had. You gave me what you could, Tyler said. And his tone was almost pitying. But it wasn't enough, Mom. I'm sorry, but it's the truth. Linda goes to my work events and doesn't embarrass me. She knows the right people. She helped me get promoted. You would have shown up in some department store dress and made small talk about the weather. I felt like I'd been slapped. I worked 2 jobs so you could go to that private school. I emptied my own college fund for your tuition. I didn't ask you to do that. The words hung in the air between us, cold and final. You didn't ask me to do that, I repeated slowly. Tyler. You were 7 when your father and I divorced. You were a child. I was your mother. Of course I did everything I could for you. And Linda does everything she can for me now. Better things. She sent me to Europe last summer. She bought me this apartment. She treats me like an adult, not some project she has to sacrifice for. Sacrifice. My hands were shaking. Tyler, everything I did was because I love you. You love the idea of being needed, Tyler said, and his voice turned sharp. You love being the martyr. Poor Karen, working 2 jobs, struggling so hard. You made your whole identity about being my mom, and now you're mad that I found someone who can actually provide for me without making me feel guilty about it. I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. Tyler kept going. Linda doesn't make me feel bad for wanting nice things. She doesn't sigh when I tell her about trips or clothes or whatever. She's happy for me. She wants me to have a good life. I wanted you to have a good life, I whispered. You wanted me to have your version of a good life. Struggle and sacrifice and making do. That's not what I want, Mom. Linda gets that. Something inside me cracked. Before I could stop myself, before I could think, my hand moved and I slapped him across the face. The sound echoed in the apartment. Tyler's hand flew to his cheek, his eyes wide with shock. Get out, he said quietly. Tyler, I didn't mean to. Get out. He pointed to the door. You're crazy. You just assaulted me. I could call the police. I'm sorry, The words caught in my throat. I don't want to hear it. Leave. And don't come back. I mean it, Mom. You're not welcome here anymore. Linda was right about you. You're toxic. I backed toward the door, tears streaming down my face. As I reached for the handle, I heard Tyler's phone ring. He answered it, turning his back to me. Hey, Linda. Yeah. She just showed up here. I know. Right? So pathetic. He laughed, actually laughed. Yeah, the restaurant thing worked perfectly. No, she'll never bother us again. She just assaulted me. Can you believe it? What a psycho. I stood frozen in the doorway, listening to my son laugh about my pain with the woman who'd replaced me. Don't worry, Tyler continued. I'm done with her. You're the only mom I need. I left, closing the door quietly behind me. I made it to my car before I collapsed against the steering wheel and sobbed. I drove home on autopilot, parked in my usual spot, climbed the stairs to my apartment. Inside, everything looked different. The furniture I'd collected over 20 years. The photos of Tyler on every wall. The Mother's Day cards head made in elementary school that I'd framed and hung in the hallway. My entire adult life had been built around being Tyler's mother. Every choice, every sacrifice, every dream deferred or abandoned. And had thrown me away like I was nothing. I sat on my couch and looked around my small living room. What did I have? A job I'd worked for 30 years that paid $42,000 a year. An apartment I rented because I'd never saved enough for a down payment on a house. A car with 160,000 miles on it. No hobbies because I'd always been too busy working. No close friends because I'd spent my free time with Tyler. No relationship because I'd told myself Tyler needed stability. I was 63 years old and I had nothing except memories of a son who didn't want me. That night, I couldn't eat, couldn't watch television, couldn't do anything except sit and think. Around midnight, something shifted inside me. The grief hardened into something else. Clarity, maybe. Or just exhaustion with my own story. I'd spent 27 years being Tyler's mother. I'd made that my entire identity, and had rejected me for a woman who could buy him a better life. So what was I now? The question sat in my chest like a stone. Without Tyler, who was Karen? I didn't know. And that terrified me more than anything else. But it also freed me. The next morning, I called my supervisor at the medical billing office. I need to take some personal time, I said. How long? She asked. I don't know yet. Maybe permanently. There was a pause. Karen, you've been here 30 years. Are you sure? I've never been more sure of anything. I hung up and went to the bank. I'd been saving money for years, setting it aside in a separate account I'd labeled Tyler's future in my mind. Money for his wedding someday, or for my future grandchildren, or for whatever emergency might come up where he needed his mother. The balance showed $68,412. I withdrew it all, walked across the street, and opened a new account at a different bank. Just mine. No one else listed. No emergency contact. Just Karen. Next, I went to see a lawyer I found through a Google search. Her name was Patricia and she had kind eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. I want to change my will, I told her. All right. What changes would you like to make? I want to remove my son as beneficiary. I want to designate my savings to establish a scholarship fund for single mothers trying to finish their education. Patricia didn't ask questions, didn't judge. She just took notes. We can do that. Anything else? If I die, I don't want him notified. Can you arrange that? I can make sure the executor of your estate has instructions not to contact him directly. You'll need to name someone else as executor. I thought for a moment. Can you do it? She smiled. I can recommend a colleague who handles estate execution. Yes. I signed the papers 2 days later. Tyler was erased from my will just as thoroughly as had erased me from his life. That evening, I sat down and wrote Tyler a letter. Not a long one. I didn't have much left to say. Tyler, you wanted Linda as your mother. You have her now. I release you from any obligation to me. I will no longer reach out, call, text, or expect anything from you. You are free. So am I. I wish you well. Mom. I mailed it the next morning. Then I quit my job at the medical billing office. My supervisor tried to talk me out of it, offered me a raise, more vacation time, anything to stay. But I'd made up my mind. I gave 2 weeks' notice, worked my final shifts, and walked out on a Friday afternoon with a small box of personal items and a check for my accrued vacation time. I quit the waitressing job too. Rosie hugged me and cried and told me I was making a mistake. What will you do? She asked. I don't know yet. I told her, but I'll figure it out. I sold my furniture on Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace. The couch Tyler used to nap on as a teenager, the kitchen table where we'd eaten 1,000 dinners together, the bookshelf that held his elementary school art projects. All of it went to strangers who loaded it into trucks and drove away. I broke my apartment lease, paid the penalty fee, and didn't care. I packed 2 suitcases with clothes and essentials. Everything else, all of Tyler's childhood belongings, his old toys and school papers and sports trophies, I donated to the Goodwill. I kept one thing, a single photo album with pictures of Tyler as a baby, a toddler, a young boy, not because I wanted to remember him the way he was now, but because I needed to remember that once, He'd loved me. Once, it mattered. I cashed out my retirement account, took the tax penalty, and didn't look back. I deactivated my Facebook account, changed my phone number, left no forwarding address with the post office. I bought a one-way ticket to Santa Fe, New Mexico. I'd always wanted to see the desert, the adobe buildings, the art galleries, and wide blue skies. I'd never gone because Tyler had soccer practice or school events or needed me nearby. Now I could go anywhere. The night before my flight, I slept on an air mattress in my empty apartment. The walls echoed, the space felt huge and hollow. I'd lived here for 20 years and now it was just rooms with stained carpet and scuffed walls. I didn't cry. I was done crying. At the airport the next morning, I checked my 2 suitcases and walked toward my gate. I was 63 years old, alone, starting over with nothing but some money in the bank and no plan. And for the first time in 27 years, I felt like I could breathe. On the plane, I sat next to an older woman with silver hair and turquoise jewelry. She smiled at me as I settled into my seat. "First time in Santa Fe?" she asked. "Yes," I said. "First time doing a lot of things." "Good for you." She extended her hand. "I'm Helen." We talked for the entire flight. I don't know what made me open up to a stranger, but I told her everything. The Mother's Day lunch, the Instagram post, Tyler's words, my decision to leave. Helen listened without interrupting. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment. "I run a retreat center outside Santa Fe," she finally said. "It's called Second Chapter. We help women rebuild their lives after loss, divorce, death, estrangement from family. We give them space to heal and figure out who they are beyond the roles they've played." "That sounds beautiful," I said. "We're always looking for help. Room and board included. Small salary. If you need a place to land while you figure things out." She pulled a card from her purse and handed it to me. I looked at the card. Second Chapter Retreat Center. A phone number and an address in the mountains outside Santa Fe. "I don't have any qualifications," I said. "I did medical billing and waitressing." Helen smiled. "You have the only qualification that matters. You survived something that would have broken a lot of people. You chose yourself. That's what we teach." I took the card. "Can I think about it?" "Of course. But the offer stands as long as you need it." When we landed in Santa Fe, Helen gave me her phone number. "Call me when you're ready," she said, "or if you just need someone to talk to." I called her 3 days later. I'd been staying in a cheap motel, wandering around the city, feeling unmoored and lost. Helen's retreat center was the first offer of belonging I'd had in months. "I'd like to take you up on your offer," I told her. "If it's still available." "It is," Helen said. "Welcome to your second chapter, Karen." The retreat center sat at the end of a winding dirt road, surrounded by juniper trees and red rock formations. The main building was adobe, with a wraparound porch, and there were 6 small cottages scattered around the property. Helen showed me to mine, a one-room space with a bed, a small kitchenette, and huge windows facing the mountains. "It's not fancy," Helen said, "but it's yours." I set my suitcases down and looked around. It was perfect. I started working the next day. My job was simple: help with meal preparation, assist with setting up for workshops, maintain the grounds. But the real work was being present with the women who came to stay. They arrived broken, just like I had. Daughters who'd been abandoned by their children. Wives who'd given everything to husbands who'd left them for younger women. Mothers whose sons and daughters had chosen addiction or abuse over family. Women who'd spent decades being everything to everyone else and had nothing left for themselves. I learned their stories over shared meals and evening walks. I listened without judgment, offered tissues when they cried, sat in silence when words weren't enough. Helen taught workshops on boundary setting, on rediscovering yourself after loss, on building a life that honored your own needs. I attended every session, soaking in wisdom I should have learned decades ago. "You can't pour from an empty cup," Helen said during one workshop. "And you can't set yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. Love requires 2 people showing up. If you're the only one trying, it's not love. It's self-destruction." I wrote her words in a journal I'd started keeping. In my free time, I discovered painting. One of the retreat residents, a woman named Dorothy, taught art therapy classes. She handed me a brush and said, "Paint what you feel." I painted my grief. Dark blues and grays, sharp angles, empty spaces. Then slowly, over weeks, my paintings changed. Warmer colors appeared. Soft edges, light. Dorothy looked at my work one afternoon and said, "You're healing." I hadn't realized it until she said it. But she was right. 3 months after arriving in Santa Fe, I painted a series I called Invisible Mothers. Women fading into backgrounds, their faces partially erased, reaching toward children who didn't see them. It was raw and painful and honest. A local gallery owner named Marcus visited the retreat to attend one of Helen's workshops. He saw my paintings displayed in the common room and asked if I'd ever shown my work. "I've never really done art before," I admitted. "You should." He handed me his card. "These are powerful. If you're interested in a show, call me." I called him 2 weeks later. We met at his gallery, a bright space downtown with high ceilings and white walls. Marcus walked me through what a show would involve. "It'll take 20% commission on sales," he said. "But I think your work will resonate. There's a story here people need to see." My exhibition opened on a Friday evening in November. I was terrified no one would come. But the gallery filled with people, women mostly, some with their adult children, some alone. They stood in front of my paintings and cried. They told me their stories. They thanked me for putting their pain into something visible. I sold 12 paintings that night. The money felt surreal. I'd made more in one evening than I used to make in a month of waitressing. But more than the money, I felt seen, valued, like I had something to offer beyond being someone's mother. With the money from my art sales, I funded 3 full scholarships at the local community college for single mothers finishing their degrees. I named the scholarship after my own mother, who'd died before she could see me graduate high school. She would have been proud. My life in Santa Fe grew richer. I hiked in the mornings before work, watching the sun rise over the Sangre de Cristo Mountains. I took pottery classes at a studio in town. I joined a book club at the library. I made friends, real friends, women who knew me as Karen, not as Tyler's mother. Helen became the mother figure I'd been missing since my own mom died. She was wise and tough and unafraid to call me on my patterns. When I started obsessively checking Tyler's social media, she gently took my phone and said, "You're allowed to grieve, but you're not allowed to torture yourself." I deleted all my social media apps that day. Marcus and I started seeing each other casually. Nothing serious, just dinners and art gallery openings, and long conversations about everything and nothing. He made me laugh. He saw me as a whole person, not just as someone's mother or someone's employee. 6 months after leaving my old life, I stood on my cottage porch one evening and realized I was happy. Not perfect, not without moments of sadness, but genuinely happy. Then I got an email that threatened to undo everything. It came to the private email address ID created for business inquiries about my art. Only Helen and a few close friends knew it. The subject line read, "Legal notice regarding Tyler Karen Harper." My hands shook as I opened it. The email was from a law firm in my old city. It stated that Tyler was engaged to a woman named Amanda. As part of their prenuptial planning, Tyler was requesting that I sign a legal document waiving any future claims to grandparents' rights or contact with any children Tyler and Amanda might have. The letter was cold, transactional, written in legal language that made my stomach turn. It outlined that Tyler's fiancé came from a prominent family, and they wanted to ensure all parental boundaries were clearly established before the wedding. Attached was a check for $5,000, labeled as settlement for emotional closure and future non-contact. I read the email 3 times. Each time, it hurt a little less and made me a little angrier. Tyler didn't just want me out of his life. He wanted to make sure I could never be part of his children's lives either. He wanted to erase me so completely that his future family would never have to know I existed, and he thought he could buy my silence for $5,000. I printed the email and the attached document. Then I walked to Helen's cottage and knocked on her door. She took one look at my face and said, "Come in." I showed her the email. She read it carefully, her expression darkening. "What are you going to do?" she asked. "I don't know," I admitted. "Part of me wants to sign it, take the money, and be done. Another part of me wants to fight just to show him he can't control me." Helen set the papers down. "What does your heart tell you?" I thought about it. Really thought about it. My heart says I don't want anything from him. Not his money, not his permission, not his legal documents. I just want to be free. "Then be free," Helen said simply. The next morning, I called a lawyer in Santa Fe, a woman named Rachel who came highly recommended. I showed her the documents. "Do I have to sign this?" I asked. Rachel read through everything carefully. "No. This is premature and legally questionable. Grandparents' rights vary by state and aren't something you can waive before grandchildren even exist. This is intimidation, not legitimate legal process. So I can just refuse. Absolutely. I can draft a response on your behalf if you'd like. I thought about the check for $5,000. About Tyler trying to buy my silence, my absence, my non-existence. Yes, I said. Please do. Rachel drafted a brief, professional response. It said simply, I have no interest in forcing myself into any life that doesn't want me, but I also will not be bought, silenced, or legally erased. I decline your offer and your document. My choice to respect Tyler's boundaries comes from my own dignity, not from any legal agreement or financial settlement. I approved the letter. Rachel sent it. 2 weeks later, Tyler showed up in Santa Fe. Helen came to my cottage one afternoon, her face serious. There's a young man at the main house demanding to see you. Says he's your son. My heart lurched. Did you tell him I was here? I told him you were unavailable and asked him to leave. Hes making a scene. I could hear it from my cottage, Tyler's voice raised, angry. I walked to the main house with Helen beside me. Tyler stood on the porch, red-faced, gesturing wildly. Several retreat residents watched from the windows, concerned. Tyler, I said calmly. He spun around. There you are. What the hell, Mom? You can't just ignore legal documents. My lawyer says you have to respond. I did respond. Through my lawyer? I declined. You can't decline. Tyler looked frantic. Amanda's family is insisting on this. If you don't sign, she's going to call off the wedding. Then I guess you have a choice to make, I said evenly. A choice? You're my mother. You're supposed to support me. I supported you for 27 years, Tyler. I'm done now. His face flushed darker. You're being selfish. This is exactly why Linda says you're toxic. You can't just let me be happy. Helen stepped forward. Young man, you need to lower your voice. This is a private residence and you're disturbing our guests. Who are you? Tyler snapped. Someone who actually cares about your mother, Helen said coldly. Which is more than I can say for you. Tyler ignored her, focused on me. Mom, please, just sign the paper. Take the money. You win, okay? You get to be the martyr, I get to move on with my life. I'm not signing anything, I said. And I'm not taking your money. Why not? You need it. Look at where you're living. He gestured around at the retreat center with disdain. You're working at some hippie commune in the middle of nowhere. I'm happy here. You're lying to yourself. Tyler's voice cracked slightly. Just sign the paper and we can both move on. We already have moved on, Tyler. You moved on 2 years ago when you started calling Linda your real mother. I just took longer to accept it. That's not. He ran his hands through his hair. Look, things are complicated. They're really not. You chose Linda. You chose the life she could give you. I accepted that. Now you have to accept that I've chosen a life too. One that doesn't include signing legal documents for your convenience. Tyler's phone rang. He glanced at it, then at me. I have to take this. He walked a few feet away, answered. I heard Linda's voice on the other end, sharp and demanding. I know, Tyler said. I'm working on it. She won't listen. I don't know what to do. He paced while talking, getting more agitated. Finally, he hung up and turned back to me. Linda says if you don't sign, I'm going to lose everything. The job, the apartment, my trust fund access. Everything. Then you'll have to figure it out without me. I said. You don't understand. Tyler's voice rose to a shout. Linda's sick. She has cancer. Stage 3. I need to focus on taking care of her, not dealing with this drama from you. Helen pulled out her phone. Give me a moment, she said quietly to me. She made a call, spoke briefly, listened. Then she hung up and looked at Tyler. I just called a mutual acquaintance in your father's social circle. Linda does not have cancer. You're lying. Tyler's face went white. You have no right to. Stop, I said firmly. Just stop, Tyler. I know Linda doesn't have cancer. I know you're lying because that's what you do when you don't get your way. I know because I raised you and I know when you're telling the truth. Tyler opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. Fine. She's not sick. But everything else is true. Linda cut me off financially because I told her I wanted to reach out to you. Dad backed her up. I lost my job at the company. Amanda left me when the money dried up. I lost my apartment. I'm living in a motel right now, Mom. I have nothing. The truth, finally. I'm sorry that happened, I said. And I meant it. Not sorry enough to rescue him, but genuinely sad that his choices had led him here. So help me, Tyler said. Please. I need money to get back on my feet. I need a place to stay. I need my mom. What you need, I said slowly, is to learn how to stand on your own. You spent your 20s letting Linda and your father take care of you in exchange for erasing me. Now they've cut you off and you think, "I'll just step back in and fix everything." I made a mistake, Tyler said, and his voice broke. I was stupid and greedy and I didn't appreciate what I had. But you're my mom. Doesn't that mean anything? It means I love you, I said. It means I want you to be happy and healthy. But it doesn't mean I'm going to enable you to keep using people. I'm not using you. Tyler, the only reason you're here is because Amanda left and the money's gone. If Linda called you tomorrow and offered you everything back, you'd be gone in a second. He didn't deny it. Couldn't deny it. I took a breath. I'll make you an offer. One time. One offer. I will pay for 6 months of therapy. Real therapy with a licensed counselor who specializes in family relationships and personal responsibility. If you commit to going every week, doing the work, I'll cover the cost. I don't need therapy, Tyler said. I need money. Then we have nothing else to talk about. Tyler stared at me, disbelief and anger warring on his face. You're really going to leave me with nothing? You're a healthy 30-year-old man with a college degree. You have everything you need to build a life. You just have to do it yourself instead of expecting other people to do it for you. This is bullshit. Tyler turned to leave, then spun back. You know what? Fine. You want to be selfish and bitter? Go ahead. But don't pretend you're being some kind of good parent. You're abandoning me just like you always did. Working your stupid jobs, never there when I needed you, always making me feel guilty for wanting more. Linda was right about you. You're toxic and pathetic, and I'm better off without you. He stormed off toward his car. I watched him go, my heart breaking and healing at the same time. Helen put her arm around my shoulders. You did the right thing. Then why does it hurt so much? Because love doesn't die just because it's not returned the way we hoped. I went back to my cottage and cried for an hour. Not for the son Tyler had become, but for the boy had been. The one who'd needed me, loved me, chosen me. That boy was gone, and I had to let him go. 3 days later, there was a knock on my cottage door. I opened it to find Tyler standing there, looking humbled in a way I'd never seen. Can we talk? He asked quietly. I stepped aside and let him in. We sat at my small kitchen table. Tyler looked around the cottage. At my paintings on the walls, the books stacked on the windowsill, the view of the mountains through the window. This is nice, he said. Thank you. He was quiet for a long moment. I'm sorry. For what I said the other day. For everything, really. You were right. About all of it. What changed? I asked. I spent the last 3 days living in my car because I couldn't afford the motel anymore. I had a lot of time to think. He looked down at his hands. I called Dad, asked if I could stay with him. He said no. Said Linda made it a condition of their reconciliation that he cut me off until I matured. They got back together, yeah. Apparently Linda decided she'd rather fix her marriage than keep supporting me. Funny how that works. Tyler's laugh was bitter. Everyone I thought would be there for me is gone. Because I don't have anything to offer them anymore. I'm sorry, Tyler. Are you? He looked up at me. I wouldn't blame you if you weren't. I threw you away for people who threw me away the second I wasn't useful. I'm sorry you're hurting. I'm not sorry you're learning that relationships can't be transactional. Tyler nodded slowly. Your offer. For therapy. Is it still available? Yes. I want to take it. Not because I think it'll get you to give me money or a place to stay, but because I think I really do need help. I don't know who I am without someone taking care of me. And I don't like the person I became when I was chasing money and status. I studied his face. He looked sincere, tired and broken, but sincere. There are conditions, I said. You do the work. You show up every week. You get a job, any job, and you support yourself. It'll pay for therapy, but nothing else. You figure out the rest on your own. I can do that. And Tyler? Our relationship is different now. I'm not here to rescue you or sacrifice for you. If we rebuild, it's as two adults who choose to be in each other's lives, not as mother who gives everything and son who takes. I understand. He paused. Can we start over? Slowly. We can try. Monthly phone calls. Well, see where it goes from there. Tyler stood to leave, then turned back. I really am sorry, Mom. For the Mother's Day thing. For the Instagram post. For all of it. You deserved better. Yes. I said simply. I did. After he left, I sat on my porch and watched the sunset paint the mountains gold and pink. I didn't know if Tyler would follow through. Didn't know if he'd really change or if this was just another manipulation. But I knew it'd be okay either way. Because I'd built a life that didn't depend on him loving me the way I deserved. And that was enough. 1 year later, I stood in front of a bookstore in downtown Santa Fe, looking at my memoir displayed in the window. Second chapter, A Mother's Journey Beyond Betrayal, by Karen Mitchell. Helen stood beside me, beaming. How does it feel? Surreal, I admitted. The book had started as journal entries, processing my pain and healing. Helen encouraged me to turn it into something more. With the help of a local writing group and a small publisher that specialized in women's stories, I'd spent 8 months writing and revising. The book launched quietly, but word spread. Women's groups invited me to speak. Book clubs chose it for their monthly reads. Reviews called it honest, raw, and necessary. I wasn't famous or wealthy from it, but every week I got emails from women who'd read it and felt less alone. Mothers who'd been rejected by their children. Women who'd sacrificed everything and received nothing in return. People who needed permission to choose themselves. I gave them that permission, the same way Helen had given it to me. My art career continued growing too. I had shows in galleries across New Mexico and Colorado. My Invisible Mothers series became my signature work, but I'd expanded into other themes. Joy, resilience, second chances. Marcus and I were still together, taking it slow, building something real. He made me dinner every Friday, paintings of him working in his gallery. We didn't talk about marriage or forever. We just enjoyed each other, day by day. The retreat center had become home. It'd been promoted to program director, helping Helen design new workshops and support systems for the women who came to us. WED helped dozens of women rebuild their lives, find their voices, start over. And Tyler had surprised me. Had followed through with therapy. He got a job at a hardware store, worked his way up to assistant manager. He moved into a small studio apartment and furnished it from thrift stores. He learned to cook, to budget, to live within his means. Our monthly phone calls became bi-weekly, then weekly. We talked about small things at first. The weather, books we were reading, movies we'd seen. Slowly, we built trust. Tyler started writing me letters, real letters on paper. In them, he detailed the things he was learning about himself, the ways he'd been entitled and selfish, the patterns he was breaking, the amends he wanted to make. He volunteered at a youth mentorship program, working with kids from low-income families. He told me it helped him understand what I'd given up for him, seeing the struggles these families faced. 6 months ago, he'd driven to Santa Fe for a visit. We spent the day hiking, talking, being honest with each other in ways we never had before. I didn't appreciate you, he said as we sat on a boulder overlooking the valley. I took everything you did and made you feel small for not doing more. That was wrong. Unforgivable, really. Not unforgivable, I said. But it hurt. I know. He looked at me. I don't expect you to forget it or pretend it didn't happen. But I want you to know. I see it now. I see you. And I'm sorry. We'd cried together that day. Grief for the years we'd lost. Relief for the relationship we were building. Tyler wasn't the same person he'd been. He was humbler, kinder, more aware. Had lost the entitlement and found empathy. Therapy and consequences had changed him. I wasn't the same either. I'd found myself beyond motherhood, discovered talents I didn't know I had, built a life that fulfilled me independent of Tyler's approval. Our relationship now was what I'd told him it needed to be. 2 adults choosing each other, not obligation or guilt or sacrifice. This Mother's Day, Tyler sent me flowers and a card. The card said simply, "Thank you for loving me enough to let me fall, and for being there when I was ready to get back up. You are my mother, and am grateful. Love, Tyler." I kept the card on my desk. The bookstore event started at 6. I read a chapter from my memoir, the one about the Mother's Day lunch. Women in the audience cried. During the question and answer session, A young woman raised her hand. "How did you know when to let go?" she asked. I thought about it. When I realized I was destroying myself to maintain a relationship that didn't exist anymore. When the pain of holding on became greater than the fear of letting go. "Do you regret it?" someone else asked. I regret that it was necessary. But I don't regret choosing myself. For the first time in my life, I put my own well-being first. That's not selfish. That's survival. After the event, people lined up to have their books signed. A woman in her 70s approached, tears streaming down her face. "My daughter hasn't spoken to me in 5 years," she whispered. "I've been waiting for her to come back. Your book made me realize I can't wait forever. I can live now." I held her hand. "You deserve to live now. Not someday. Now." That night, I returned to the retreat center. Helen had made dinner, invited Marcus and a few of the residents. We ate on the porch as the sun set, telling stories and laughing. My phone buzzed. A text from Tyler. "Saw the post about your book event. Proud of you, Mom. You're inspiring people, including me." Attached was a photo of him at his volunteer program with a group of teenagers, all of them holding up a banner they'd made. It read, "Thank you for teaching us our worth." I showed Helen the photo. She smiled. "Hes learning." "We both are," I said. I thought about the woman it'd been a year ago, sitting alone in a restaurant, watching her son celebrate someone else as his real mother. That woman had been broken, lost, defined entirely by a role she no longer held. I thought about the woman I was now, an artist, a writer, a mentor, a friend, a woman who'd rebuilt herself from nothing and found something beautiful. Tyler was part of my life again, but he wasn't the center of it. I had other things, other people, other purposes, and that made all the difference. Before bed, I stood on my porch and looked at the stars scattered across the desert sky. I thought about all the women I'd met through my book, through the retreat center, through my art. Women who'd been told their worth was in their sacrifice. Women who'd given everything and been discarded. I thought about the scholarship fund I'd established, now supporting 12 single mothers through college. The retreat center that had helped 50 women rebuild their lives. The paintings hanging in homes across the country, reminding people that invisible didn't mean worthless. I'd spent 27 years being Tyler's mother. I'd spent the last year becoming Karen, and Karen was someone worth being. I learned that love without boundaries destroys the person doing the loving. I learned that being a mother doesn't mean being a martyr. I learned that sometimes the greatest gift you can give someone is letting them face the consequences of their choices, even when it breaks your heart. I learned that my worth was never tied to Tyler's appreciation of me, that I had value independent of my role in someone else's life. I learned it's never too late to start over, to build a life that honors who you are, to choose yourself, and most importantly, I learned that real love requires two people showing up with honesty, respect, and effort. Anything less isn't love. It's obligation, and I was done living obligated to anyone but myself. Tyler and I had a relationship now, a real one, built on mutual respect instead of expectation. But even if that hadn't happened, even if he'd never come back, I would have been okay. Because I'd found myself in the desert, in the art, in the women I helped, in the life I built from the ashes of the one I'd lost. I was 64 years old. I'd been broken and rebuilt. I'd lost everything and found something better. I was Karen, artist, writer, mentor, survivor. And for the first time in my life, that was enough. Now I want to ask you something. Have you ever had to choose between holding on to someone you love and choosing yourself? Have you ever felt invisible in your own family, your own relationships? What did you do? How did you find your way back to yourself? Share your story in the comments below. Your experience might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. If this story resonated with you, please consider liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and sharing it with someone who might need to hear this message. Sometimes the bravest thing we can do is tell the truth about our pain and our healing. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it reminds you that you are never too old, never too broken, never too lost to start again. Your second chapter is waiting. You just have to be brave enough to turn the page. Take care of yourselves, choose yourselves, and remember, you are worth more than the roles you play for other people. You are worth everything.